20. The Dementor's Kiss. Harry had never been part of a stranger group. Crookshank led the way down the stair. Lupin, Pettigrew, and Ron went next, looking like entranced in a six-legged race. Next came Professor Snape drifting creepily along, his toes hitting each stair as they descended, held up by his own wand, which was being pointed at him by Cyrus. Harry and Hermione brought up the rear. Getting back into the tunnel was difficult. Lupin, Pettigrew, and Ron held to turn sideways to manage it. Lupin still had Pettigrew covered with his hand. He could see them edging awkwardly along the tunnel in single file. Crookshank was still in the lead. Harry went right after Black, who was still making Snape drift along ahead of them. He kept bumming his lolling head on the low ceiling. Harry had the impression Black was making no effort to prevent this. You know what this means, Black said abruptly to Harry as they made their slow progress along the tunnel. Turning Pettigrew in, you are free, said Harry. Yes, said Black. I am also. I don't know if anyone ever told you. I'm your godfather. Yeah, I know that, said Harry. Well, your parents appointed me your guardian, said Black stiffly. If anything happened to me, that Harry waited. Did Black mean what he thought he meant? I'll understand, of course, if you want to stay with your aunt and uncle, said Black, but well, think about it. Once my name's cleared, if you want a different home, some sort of explosion took place in the pit of Harry's stomach. What live with you? He said, accidentally cracking his head on a bit of rock protruding from the ceiling. Leave the Dursleys. Of course, I thought you wouldn't want to, said Black quickly. I understand, I just thought I had. Are you insane? Said Harry, his voice easily as croaky as Black's. Of course, I want to leave the Dursleys. Have you got a house? When I can move in. Black turned right around to look at him. Snape heard how was screaming the ceiling, but Black turned right around to look at him. Snapehead was scraping the ceiling, but Black didn't seem to care. You want to, he said. You mean it? Yeah, I mean it, said Harry. Black's gaunt face broke into the first true smile Harry had seen upon it. The difference it made was starting as though a person 10 years younger were shining through the starved mask. For a moment, he was recognizable as the man who had laughed at Harry's parents' wedding. They did not speak again until they had reached the end of the tunnel. Crookshank darted. First, he had evidently pressed his paw to the knot on the trunk because Lupin, Pettigrew, and Ron clambered upward without any sound of savaging branches. Black saw Snape up through the hole, then stood back for Harry and Hermione to pass. Last, all of them were out. The ground was very dark now. The only light came from this distant window of the castle. Without a word, they set off. Pettigrew was still weighing and occasionally whimpering. Harry's mind was buzzing. He was going to leave the Dursleys. He was going to live with Sirius Black, his parents' best friend. He felt as what would happen when he told the Dursleys he was going to live with the convict they had seen on television. One wrong move, Pedder, said Lupin threateningly ahead. His wand was still pointing sideways at Pettigrew's chest. Slightly they tamped through the ground. Castle light growing low, slowly larger. Snape was still diffidently weirdly ahead of Black, his chin bumping on his chest, and then a cloud shifted. There were suddenly deep shadow on the ground. Their party was bathed in moonlight. Snape collided with Lupin, Pettigrew, and Ron, who had stopped abruptly. Black froze. He flung out one arm to make Harry and Hermione stop. Harry could see Lupin siled out. He had gone rigid, then his limbs began to shake. Oh my, Hermione gasped. He didn't take his potion tonight. He's not safe. Run, Black whispered. Run now, but Harry couldn't run. Ron was chained to Pettigrew and Lupin. He leapt forward, but Black caught him around the chest and threw him back. Leave it to me, run. There was a terrible snaring noise. Lupin's head was lengthening, so was his body. His shoulders were hunching. Hair was sprouting, visible on his face and head, which were curling into claws paws. Crookshank's hair was on the end again. He was backing away as the werewolf reared, snapping its long jaw. Cyrus disappeared from Harry's side. He had transformed the enormous bear-like dog, bounded forward as the werewolf wrenched itself free of McConnell, binding it. The dog seized it about the neck and pulled it backward, away from the Ron and Pettigrew. They were locked jaw to jaw, claws ripping at each other. Harry stood transfixed by the sight, too intent upon the battle to notice anything else. It was Hermione's scream that alerted him. Pettigrew had divided from Lupin's drop wand. Ron, unsteady on his bandaged leg, fell. There was a bang, a burst of light, and Ron lay motionless on the ground. Another bang. Crookshank flew into the air and Black to the earth in leap. Explorers, Harry yelled, pointing his own wand at Pettigrew. Lupin's wand flew high into the air and out of sight. Stay where you are, Harry shouted, running forward. Too late. Pettigrew had transformed. Harry saw his barbed tail with through the manacle on Ron's outstretched arm and heard a scurrying through the grass. There was a howl and a rumbling growl. Harry turned to see the werewolf taking flight. It was galloping into the forest. Cyrus is gone. Pettigrew transformed. Harry yelled. Black was bleeding. There were gashes across his muzzle and Black, but at Harry's word, he scrambled up again, and in an instant, the sound of his paws faded to silence as he pounded away across the ground. Harry and Hermione dashed over to Ron. What did he do to him? Hermione whispered. Ron's eyes were only half closed, his mouth hung open. He was definitely alive. They could hear him breathing, but he didn't seem to recognize them. I don't know. Harry looked desperately around. Black and Lupin both gone. They had no one but Snape for company, still hanging unconscious in midair. We had better get them up to the castle and tell someone, said Harry, pushing his hair out of his eyes, trying to think straight. Come, but then from beyond the range of their vision, they heard a yelping, a whimpering, a dog in pain. Cyrus, Harry muttered, staring into the darkness. He had a moment indecision, but there was nothing they could do for Ron at that moment, and by the sound of it, Black was in trouble. Harry set off at run, Hermione right behind him. The yelping seemed to be coming from the ground near the edge of the lake. They pelted toward it, and Harry, running flat out, felt the cold without realizing what it must mean. The yelping stopped abruptly as they reached the lake shore. They saw why Cyrus had turned Black into a man. He was crouched on all fours, his hands over his head. No, he moaned, no, please. And then Harry saw them, Dementor. At last, 100 of them, gliding in a black mass around the lake toward them. He spun around, a familiar icy cold penetrating his inside, but starting to absorb his vision. More were appearing out of the darkness. On every side, they were encircling them. Hermione, think of something happy, Harry yelled, raising his wand, blinking furiously to try and clear his vision, shaking his head to read it to the faint screaming that had started inside it. I'm going to live with my godfather. I'm living with Dursleys. He forced himself to think of Black, and only Black had begun to chant Expecto Patronum, Expecto Patronum. Black gave a shudder, rolled over, and lay motionless on the ground, pale as death. He'll be all right. I'm going to go and live with him. Expecto Patronum. Hermione, help me. Expecto Patronum. Expecto, Hermione whispered. Expecto, but she couldn't do it. The Dementors were closing in, bare 10 feet from them. They formed a solid wall around Harry and Hermione and were getting closer. Expecto Patronum, Harry yelled, trying to blot the screaming from his ear. Expecto Patronum. A thin vise of silver escaped from his wand and hovered like mist before him. At the same moment, Harry felt Hermione collapse next to him. He was alone, completely alone. Expecto Patronum, Harry felt his knees hit the cold grass. Fog was clouding his eyes with a huge effort. He fought to remember. Cyrus was innocent, innocent. Will be okay. I am going to live with you. Expecto Patronum. He gasped. By the feeble light of his formless patrons, he saw a Dementor halt very close to him. He couldn't walk through the cloud of silver mist. Harry had conjured a dead slimy hand sealed out from under the cloak. He made a gesture as though to sweep the patrons aside. No, no, Harry gasped, his innocent expecto patronum. He could feel them watching him, hear their rattling breath like an evil wind around them. The nearest Dementor seemed to be considering him. Then it raised both its rotting hand and lowered its hood. Where there should have been eyes, where was only thin grey, scabby skin stretched blackly over empty spots. But there was a mouth, a gaping, shapeless hole, sucking the air with the sound of a death rattle. A paralyzing terror fills Harry so that he couldn't move or speak. His patrons flickered and died. White fog was blinding him. He had to fight metronome he couldn't see, and in the distance he heard the familiar screaming, Expecto Patronum. He groped the mist for Cyrus and found his arm. They weren't going to take him, but a pair of strong, calmy hands suddenly attached themselves around Harry's neck. They were forcing his face upward. He could feel its breath. It was going to get rid of him first. He could feel it putrid breath. His mother was screaming in his ear. She was going to be the last thing he never heard. And then, through the fog that was drawing him, he thought he saw a silvery light growing brighter and brighter. He felt himself fall forward on the grass, face down, too weak to move, sick and shaking. Harry opened his eyes. The Dementor must have released him. The blinding light was illuminating the grass around him. The screaming hams stopped. The cold was ebbing away. Something was driving the Dementors back. It was circling around him and Black and Hermione. They were leaving. The air was warm again. With every ounce of strength he could master, Harry raised his head a few inches and saw an animal amid the light galloping away across the lake, eyes blurred with sweat. Harry tried to make out what it was. It was as bright as a unicorn, frightened to stay unconscious. Harry watched it center to a halt as it reached the opposite shore. For a moment, Harry saw by its brightness somebody welcoming it Black, raising his hand to pat it, someone who looked strangely familiar, but it couldn't be. Harry didn't understand. He couldn't think anymore. He felt the last of his strength leave him, and his head hit the ground as he fainted. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for next chapter. Till then, see ya. Bye bye.